Hello. Hello team. I hope you are able to hear my voice. Please let me know if there is some problem in hearing me through chat. Okay. Okay, great. So let's start our day one session of performance testing. Welcome team to day one performance testing session. So today we will see let's see what is the agenda for today's meeting. Okay, so I'm just skipping on the next slide. Okay, so today we are going to see what is expected at the end of this entire training. Okay, so what you will know, what experience you will gain at the end of the training. Then who is this training for? Then we should know the prerequisites for attending this training. Then what topics will be covered during the entire training. Then we will see performance testing introduction in day one session, and we will begin with a project. We will understand how things go around the particular project. So most of the things would be practical, so that it will be easy for the team to understand the concept very clearly. Do let me know if you have any questions, so we can answer. I can answer it at the later stage. Okay, so we can discuss it at the end of the session, whatever questions we have. Just a second. Okay, so today, we will discuss at the end of the session whatever questions you have, and then we will proceed with the slides. Okay. Yeah, I have some questions. I will just right now go through it. Yeah, it's mainly the performance testing we will see. In that we will cover Loadrunner and Jmeter. We will see at the later stage what will be covered during the entire course. Okay, so some part of it is theoretical, what to expect at the end and who is this training for. So bear with me. So after that, we will get into a project, so it will be very interesting for the entire team. Okay. So the duration of the course is for 30 hours. We will cover both Loadrunner and Jmeter, as I said. Okay. So once we will see what will be covered, then you will be able to know, okay, what topics will be covered in detail. So then all your doubts will be clear. Okay. So next is, we'll move to the next slide. What to expect at the end of this training. Okay. So what the team is expecting at the end of this training. Okay. Hands-on exposure to performance testing. Yeah, there are a lot of questions popping up. Yes, the recording is done and will be shared. So we will see some of the question at the end. So we will first go through the slides and let me take up some questions at the end. Okay, see. Then first of all, we'll at the end of the course, you will have hands-on exposure to performance testing. Like what the tools we will cover, you will be having hands-on how to do the scripting using Loadrunner and Jmeter, and total practical knowledge on the performance testing. Okay, then understand when to implement load and performance testing. So whenever a project comes to you, like at the first, like even if you are new to performance testing and you are going through the training, so at the end, like if a project comes to you, then you will be able, you are in a position to implement and understand like the load and performance testing concepts to your project, and you can totally do performance testing of your application. Okay, next is understand the mechanics of applying effective load and performance testing. So here, like different types of tests are performed on an application that depends on the load is varying. So that we will see, like actually how do we identify and all. So all these things we will be able to see during the training session. Then be aware of different load and performance testing tools. Be able to justify and choose the appropriate tool for the job. Like so, we are going to see Loadrunner and Jmeter during the entire session, and so these two tools are majorly used by most of the organizations. These are the, you can say, tools leading in the market for performance testing, and I will give some of the overview of other performance testing tools. So just like an idea what a tool is about and what it does. Okay, so the just a basic understanding of like some of the tools apart from Loadrunner and Jmeter that we are going to cover in detail. The next is identify and understand pragmatic fixes for common performance problems. So like when we go into the execution part of performance testing, we will see like how do we identify a particular bottleneck. Bottleneck in the sense like what is the issue occurring, or what is the bug, or what is the defect. Okay, and then can just recommend like few common performance problems and recommend some solutions to. Okay, understand the skills and experience needed for load and performance testing. So at the end, you will understand like what are skills and experience needed for doing a particular performance testing project. Okay, and next is be able to develop and implement their own load and performance test plan and be too confident in its success. So we are going to see every phase of performance testing, that is right from requirement gathering to script creation, script execution, analysis and reporting. So you will be able to write a test plan once you are done with this training. So all the things like practically and like what are all necessary in doing a performance testing and required in each phase of performance testing, we would see that. Okay. So you would be expecting this like you after this training you can be an expert in like performance testing using the tool like Jmeter and Loadrunner that we are going to cover during the training. The next is, who is this training for? Like who can attend this training? Okay, so team like quality assurance engineers, then any performance engineer like who is just new to the industry, or even the experienced people like load and performance testers who are already working on the performance testing project can attend this training. Even technical lead and managers can attend this training. So like, or anyone who is required to perform or is involved in implementing or manages load and performance testing. So like all these things maybe like included or intended, like all these engineers, or you can say testers, can attend this training. Okay. So next we move on to prerequisites for like attending this training. Okay, so like attenders will be need basic knowledge of software testing principles. Not in detail, but yeah, few things the attenders or the team should know, like what is testing and some basic knowledge of like software testing principles. So even that is if like one does not have, then definitely we will gain like understanding of what is testing and like performance testing in detail during this entire course. Okay, during this entire training. Now, next, attenders new to testing as well as performance testing should consider the training. Okay, like who are new to testing as well as those who are doing the regular performance testing job can consider for this training. So these are the prerequisites for attending the training. Okay, now we will see like what will be covered. Okay, during the entire training sessions. So these are the high level topics I have just mentioned. We will just browse through like each topic in detail after this. So high level topics are performance testing introduction. So in this we will see like taking up a project. We will see an example of a project, and then on that particular project we will see like how actually the performance testing concept will be applicable. Okay, how should we proceed when a project comes to us, and what are the initial steps in doing performance testing for a particular application. So all these things we will see. We will take up 2-3 projects during the entire training, so that you will be able to understand like working on different applications, how the concept of performance testing work. Okay. Then next is Loadrunner introduction. So Loadrunner introduction, like why it is necessary, what is Loadrunner all about. So all these things we will see. So I will just browse you through detailed course after this high level course. Next is Vugen. So Vugen, or a virtual user generator. So we usually term as Vugen. So like you have to, like during the course of training we will term Vugen, then controller and analysis. So this would be the common few topics or words like appearing in the training again and again. Okay. So next, so Vugen component is mainly used for scripting. Okay. So scripting as the sense like there are different applications, like the client and the server communicate with each other. So there is some protocol, communication protocol associated with each application. Okay, so we will see how does, like depending on the communication protocol, which protocol we should select. So the scripting we would see with Vugen component. Next is a controller component that is mainly used for organizing and managing the scenarios. Now, what a scenario you might be thinking. So, once we take up the project, Vugen scripting is based on a protocol. Like there are different protocols supported by Vugen. So, we will see in the course like what are all protocols are supported by Vugen, and we would be going through HTTP HTML protocol taking up the project. So it will be easy for the team to understand like as I said different concepts of performance testing. There are some concepts like parameterization, correlation. So what all this term means technically, we will see later on when we actually take up the topic. Okay, so next is the controller component. Okay, controller, as I have said, like it's mainly used for managing and designing of scenarios. So what is actually a scenario? We will see today in the introduction, like what a scenario means and like how do we go about the scenario. Okay, and next is the analysis component that is mainly used for analyzing the test results of the execution which is done by the controller component. Okay, so that is the analysis component. So suppose if you want to prepare a report like after your execution offline, then analysis is a component that helps you in preparing the report. Okay. Now we will just go through the course content in detail. Sorry. Okay. So this is the entire like detailed course content for the Loadrunner. So as we have seen like performance testing introduction, then we will be having Loadrunner introduction. In that we would see introducing Loadrunner. Why should you automate performance tests? What are different Loadrunner components? So we have just seen the high level, there are 3 components right now we have seen. Viewgen, controller and analysis. So we will be seeing these 3 components in detail. Then understanding the Loadrunner terminology, then Loadrunner installation we would see, then Loadrunner architecture, like how the components behave or communicate with each other, where to install Loadrunner components, then identify hardware and software needed to do that, then what is actually a load testing process. Then we will get familiar with the application that we will see in a project. So how we proceed with that particular application. So all these things we will see. Then application requirement, how do we gather it? The power of Loadrunner, then how to create a load test, how to run a load test, monitoring load test and analyzing results. All these things we would see. The next in the Viewgen component, we would see working with Viewgen, its overview, then what is actually a V-user. It is called as a virtual user. So V-user is the term will be used again and again going forward. Okay, then we will see the task pane overview in the Viewgen component, then script sections. Then we will see the Loadrunner licensing, just a basic, like how it is there. Then we would see the Viewgen code overview, like when the script is generated, how it looks like, what it does, we would see that. Then we would see how to create a V-user script, then based on this business scenario, as we have seen the scenario. So we will see like how do we script a particular scenario, then how do we modify that script, then we will see protocol advisors, some basic why it is needed, its overview. So all these things. So in scripting part, all things would be covered in detail. Like we would see how to, there are some recording options which are needed for creating a script. Then runtime settings, we would see which important runtime settings we need to do. Then how do we replay the scripts and all things. What is think time, then renderless point, transaction overview, then how to insert transaction, then display transaction, then how to insert steps in a particular script, some useful Viewgen functions we will see, how to prepare script for load tests we will see. So all these things we would be covering in detail when we take up each individual component, and we will see implementing a project. So it would be more easy for the team to understand the concept more clearly. Okay. Then we would see important concepts like correlation, what is parameterization, what is the difference between them, then how to correlate scripts as we are going to see web HTTP HTML protocol, how to search for those values, how to manually correlate the scripts. Okay, then parameter options, we would see why parameters are needed, then what is the parameter types available in Vuegen. So all these things we would see in the Vuegen component. Okay, so this is the detailed, you can say, course content that we would be going actually through during the entire training. Okay. The next is the controller part. That is the controller component, you can say. In that we would see planning load test scenario, then load test planning overview. There are different types of scenario available. We would see that manual and goal-oriented scenario. Yes, we can actually import QTP scripts in Loadrunner. Okay, that we won't be covering because that is like another part. So we would be just seeing here like how we actually go about Loadrunner and its component. Okay, so we would see how to execute an app and all those things would be seen. Okay, great. Then we will see different scenarios like manual and goal-oriented scenario. What is the importance of each of them? Then what is load generator, load balancing? So these are the terms which will be clear to the team when we actually take up those components and do some practical things on it. Okay. Then how do we add load generators to scenario? How do we define schedule in the scenario? How do we run the load test? Then before running load test, how to prepare a scenario, all these things will be covered. How to add monitors. Monitors means like we want to see the resource utilization of a particular server, like the CPU or the memory. So how do we add? Okay, so we will see all those things. How do we like add a particular counter of a particular server? All these things we would see in the controller component. And lastly is the analysis component. In that we would see introduction to analysis. Then what is mainly analysis overview. Then different analysis graph. Understand each of those important graphs, why they are important. Then there are different filtering options. Then drill down options in the graph that we would see to actually analyze those graphs. Okay, and how to merge graphs, how to prepare a Word and HTML report from analysis components. So all these things would be covered in detail. So this is like a Loadrunner detailed course content. Now we will move to the next slide. Next is the Jmeter tool. In that, this is again the high level course topics. We will be seeing the detailed course topics through the sheet. Okay. So high level we will see Jmeter introduction, why it is used for and all. Yeah. So we will see in Jmeter how to build a test plan, then elements of test plan, how to build a web test plan, and some advanced topics. Okay, so let us see in detail what we are going to cover so that you will be having an idea, okay, during the training what all things will be covered. Yeah, any questions, you just post it in chat and then we will see at the end of the like before 10-15 minutes before we end the session. Okay. So this is the detail of Jmeter, what we are going to see. So getting started, like requirements with Java version, we need to install on the machine, installation process of Jmeter. How do we run Jmeter? Then there are some Jmeter class parts. Then using a proxy server. Then there are two modes, GUI mode and non-GUI mode in Jmeter. We will see what does that mean when we start with Jmeter training. Then how to build a test plan. Now here, like test plan and script are one and the same, but the terms are used differently in Roadrunner and Jmeter. Okay. Then in that we would see adding and removing some elements. How do we configure 3 elements? How do we run a test plan? Okay. Next is elements of test plan. So there are different elements. Like as we have seen in Roadrunner, there are components. So here, similar to that, there are elements in the test plan, in the script, or you can say thread group, controller, then listeners, timers, assertion, configuration elements. So all these things we would be covering in detail. Then next is building a web test plan. So we would see how to test a web application, like using a web HTTP HTML protocol. So this is called a web test plan, okay, or test script. So how to record those things, how do we add users, how do we like handle the cookies, how do we handle the HTTP requests and all things. And in advance we will see how to develop a database test plan. In that we will see developing a database test plan in advance. So like this is the detailed course content of Jmeter. Okay. It can be like 1,000 users. You not just need by like we can run 1,000 many users with Jmeter, but we need a high configuration machine with required GB of memory. So that we will see when we take up like Jmeter training. Okay. So all these things we will see. Okay, great. So now let's begin with our introduction. So we will take up hotels.com as our first project, first application. Okay. So I will just open an Excel sheet. Okay. So we will take hotels.com as our first application and we will see, okay, when suppose this is the first project coming to us, okay, for performance testing. So how do we proceed with performance testing initially? Okay. So first of all, like before proceeding to this project, let me give some overview like manual testing and performance testing, what it is. Okay. So just an overview, like suppose in manual testing, suppose I enter some destination and I click on dates and checkout dates. Okay. Now I click on search button. So I am aware that, okay, I am giving some input. In the middle, application is processing something and giving me the output, like a search the result of the hotel that I have mentioned as a destination. So suppose I click on Los Angeles, okay, I selected this and I suppose I click on checking date as this and checkout date as 23rd and I will book room. I will click on search. So it will like search for the hotels and see you will get this many hotels, like whatever is meeting the criteria what we have given. Okay. So what is it? We know the input, but we don't know like what the application is processing from inside, and we get the output. But like in manual testing, like suppose I am like doing the search, the team is doing the search. So at a time, suppose 10 users are searching something, then they will get some output. Okay, but if I want to do all 10 users at a time, so it is possible in manual testing, but there would be some gap in the time. Like suppose I hit search button at suppose 6:30 a.m. Pacific, and another person hits at 6:30 some millisecond like at that particular time. So there is some gap. So if we want to test with suppose 50, 100 users at a time, then what we will do? Okay, so this we cannot do in manual testing. For that, we need to have some tool which can emulate real user activity. So that we would see in performance testing. How do we do that? So in performance testing, those real users are replaced by virtual user. We say as V user. Okay. So first of all, we should know how many V users we have on the application. V users on the application. Okay. So say suppose I want to test with 100 this hotel application and picking up one search functionality. So in this particular case, as I have mentioned earlier, like scenario, I have mentioned 2-3 times what is scenario. So in this particular case, suppose I just right now click on, I just load the home page. Okay. Again. Now we are having this functionality as a hotel search. So my scenario would be this you can term in manual testing as a test case. Okay. So suppose I load a home page, I enter the search criteria and I click on search button. So this entire like 3 steps you mention it as a scenario. Okay, so this is my first scenario of say hotels.com. Okay. So this is my first scenario. So before proceeding for like scripting, I should know in detail each and every step of the scenario what I am going to test. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to do a scripting. So like before today, once we are done with some basic concept, I will just show you actually how do we record a script. Just a sample so that you will be getting an idea, okay, how the Fusion is working, and then when we actually start with Fusion, we are going to cover in detail each and everything. Okay. So as we have seen, like manual and performance testing. Manual we can at most test with suppose 10 users, and in performance we can test for 100,000 users in real. Okay. So here you can say as in terms of manual testing of hotel search application. Okay. Hotel.com. And like performance testing of hotel.com. So here, suppose manual testing, I want to test maximum with 10 real users. Here you see the term real users we are mentioning. And in performance testing, this real users are replaced by virtual users. Okay, so I say 10 virtual users. Okay. Then at a time, like if I do manual testing, 10 with 10 real users, I would require resources in terms of like hardware, that is machine, then cost wise, so all things would be included. And here, like we don't require real users. So here the resources only one machine we can work with, and like also cost will be reduced. Okay, as we are replacing the real users with virtual users. So in this, like we can, in manual we can test concurrently with few users, but that won't be accurate. Okay, but not accurate. Okay, and here like all the things are done by a tool. So we can test thousands of users concurrently and with accuracy. So like this is main difference in manual and performance. In performance, like we are mainly focusing on the load of the application. So I want to know, okay, hotels.com is taking how much load? Say 100 users, 200 users or 1000 users. And at the time, like when 1000 users are searching for a hotel, suppose at a time, then how is my application behaving under those 1000 users? Okay, so that is the main objective of performance testing. We actually measure the performance. Performance in the sense, like suppose I just click on this. I mentioned Los Angeles. I selected the date and I click on search. So performance in the sense, in how much time or what is the speed I am getting the response from the server. Okay, so it is quick. You can see that. So that is the performance of the application. So like as in today's world, like in earlier days, there were machines like a decade of, during 1960s, 1980s, 1995 onwards. So there in 1960, very less machines were there, like with less configuration you can see. Okay, machines were big. In 1980s, things improved. In 1995, again things improved, like web server were there, app server were there. So like things getting on improved. So in today's world, as you can see, like this application might be having servers involved with it. Okay, that is the web server, app server, DB server, that is the database server. So we need to check the performance of each of the server when we actually do this particular scenario. Okay, so we will see, like as we have seen in the topic, we would adding a monitors during execution. So through that, like we will be able to get an idea, okay, what is the CPU utilization or what is the memory utilization when we actually do the performance testing execution. Okay. So like suppose like this is like lot of users, you can see traffic on a lot of sites, suppose. So this is the crowd and like it is increasing from 100 to 1000 times. So suppose this application earlier was being accessed with only suppose 50 users, but now it has increased to 1000 users. So like crowd is increasing. Okay. It's mainly related to we can see the front end, but we need to see the communication between the client and the server. So we measure like whatever a real user, we emulate the things with the virtual user. Okay. So like it is, we can say front end activity because we are measuring the performance of the application. But we are not testing the functionality of the application. I am not like worried about, okay, I am able to type in something or this button is working. So this is not related to the functionality. This is just related to performance in the sense speed. Then what is my like bytes received from the server? Then what are actually, how many users are hitting this particular application? So these are the objectives of performance testing. I am not worried at all, okay, this button is working or not, this link is working or not. Okay. We are, see, database and web server, here we would not be able to like go on to the servers as we don't have admin access to those servers. But we will see actually when it depends on when we hit an application. Suppose we do a scenario. So internally it goes to, let me show you. Okay, let me show you. Yeah, internet speed depends, because that depends on the bandwidth. Like how is the bandwidth of a particular like network. So if it is like very poor, then definitely the performance of the application would affect. Okay, so as said, okay, suppose this is your application. Okay, now this is my app server, suppose web server and the DB server. Okay, and like this is a user. Okay, so I am accessing, okay, let me write it down first of all. This is a user, this is the application or the browser, we can say, as we are accessing from the browser side. So browser, and we are accessing the application of the browser. Okay. Now, so user will open the browser. He will hit the URL in the address bar. Now, this particular browser will send request to the server. Okay. So internally it will go, it will get the result, it will again give the response to this particular, and we in turn get a page in the, like whatever response we are getting from the server, we get in a form of page. As we have seen that we did a search. Okay, so I searched it and click on search. So like this request, this search request is going to the server. It is seeing the request and like what it has seen, like suppose it will see, okay, search request is coming in. So it has some like process going on, the application rules or the business rules you can say, and then in turn you get a response from the server side as a search result of the hotels that are actually like in that particular search criteria, fitting that particular search criteria. Okay. So here, as you see, like we are just like concerned here, this browser will be replaced in performance testing, will be replaced by a tool that we use in, and then we run this user on load generator. We will see what does that mean. Okay. So this in turn, load generator will in turn hit the server and get back the response. So here a real user is replaced by this software, we can say the tool, and then we get the response. So it's just a communication between the client and the server that is taking place, and that is getting generated in the script. Okay. So this is the communication between client and the server. Okay. So these things like are getting captured in the script. So like before like today's session we will see actually one recording of the script for this particular functionality. So you will be able to know, okay, how the script is generated. Okay, so you will get an idea about that. So I hope team you are able to get it, like the concepts. Please post your question on the chat if you have any, so that I will like answer all the queries. Now, as we have seen, like suppose 100 or 1000 users are accessing this hotel, okay, at a time. So that is one way good and one way bad. Okay. So how in terms of good? Okay. Like more sales are happening, the business of hotels.com is increasing. And in one way bad, like in terms of traffic, there is a lot of traffic coming to the server, and like sometimes there is a delay in processing your request. So sometimes what you will feel, okay, I am clicking on search, but I am not getting the proper result. So why it is the case? That might be related to traffic. Okay, traffic on the server. So you might get some late responses. So in that particular case, if you like do 2-3 times the same search flow and you are getting late response, then definitely you would opt for another application that is providing the same like functionality, the same kind of hotels. So yeah, we have here a question. Let me just go through it. Yeah, that is what, like there is question like 10 users are there and hitting the application. So how do we know that they are hitting at the same time? So this is what the tool is doing. We are not doing anything. This is what the tool is doing. We just give the virtual user and the tool will take care of it, like how the users are hitting. So they are hitting at a time. There is the settings we need to do. So like we need to get, okay, 10 users are hitting the application at the same time. Because concurrency in performance testing, we mainly see the concurrency of the users. Like how many users are doing this particular search functionality at a time. Okay. So, okay, we have another question. Let me take that. So, okay, RPT or Loadrunner. So, each tool has its own benefit. Loadrunner is a market leader in case of performance testing tools. RPT is not that much used. It's an IBM product, and very few protocols are supported by rational performance tester. RPT is a rational performance tester. Okay, and Loadrunner gives you a lot of flexibility, is user friendly, and a lot of protocols are supported by Loadrunner. So we will see like what all set of protocols are supported by Loadrunner when we actually take up the component. Okay. Okay. So what we will see that yeah, there is another question coming in. We will just see. Okay. What? It's a good question. Okay. What protocol is? Okay. Now, as I have said, like my browser and the server are interacting, talking to each other, interacting. Okay. So suppose I and team is talking. So we are using some common language in between. Okay. So that is the protocol you can say. So it's the communication language you can say between the client and the server. so that each application has its own communication with the server, and we can use that. Okay. Okay. Another good question coming in. Like we have two questions. Let's see. Okay, we can do ramp up. The question is, can we do ramp up settings in Loadrunner and Jmeter? The answer is yes. We can all set. The difference is Loadrunner is a commercial tool and Jmeter is an open source tool. So these days, like Jmeter is coming up in the market. It is supporting a protocol, but not that much, and like manual intervention needs to be there in Jmeter, like for preparing report and all. But now Jmeter is also the most like used tool in the market, you can say, after Loadrunner. So like both these tools are becoming like have a huge share in the market for performance testing tools, you can say. Okay. So as we we have seen what is communication, like what is protocol means. Okay, so that is the communication between, you can say, communication language, okay, between the client and the server. Okay. Yeah, we have another good question coming in. Is there record and replay in Loadrunner? Yeah, like whatever scenario like we have identified here. So today we will see how do we record and replay a simple scenario. So I will show you that. So you will get an idea, okay, how it is done. Okay. Yeah, I am taking the practical part. Let's see. This is just like the initial. So, like the concept needs to be clear before going to any practical thing. Okay. So, this terms you should know. What is virtual user? Then, what is the scenario and all. So that's the reason like I am taking this concept. Hello. I hope now the team is able to hear me. Okay, so let's take Vugen part, practical part. Okay, we will see Vugen component. Like we will see how do we record a particular script. Okay, or a particular business scenario. So I will just open Vugen. Yeah. Okay, there is another good question coming in. Okay, if there is a captcha or anything dynamic in the application, will Loadrunner would handle it? Yeah, we can handle it through Vugen. We can definitely do it through the scripting part. Okay, and I will be telling you how to download the trial version so that you can practice like whatever is covered in the session at your home, and then you can have a practical knowledge on it. Okay. So this is like Vugen. This is a window of Vugen. Its version is 11.0, and like you can see what new protocols are supported and features between those. Okay. Yeah, another good question coming in, like are Loadrunner and Jmeter the same? Yeah, they are the performance testing tools, just that the GUI is different, and like some protocols supported in Jmeter are less and all. Okay, so in Loadrunner, we will be seeing the C language, and in JMeter, like the script is getting generated, like the language is Java. Okay, as is Apache 2, JMeter. Okay, so this tool, I will let you know the link. How do we install it so that you can install at your end and do some practice session. Okay, it supports different scripting languages. I will just show you. Okay, now we click on File, New. So there are a list of protocols supported by Loadrunner. This is a trial version, and like when you download the trial version and install it, then it will last for 30 days, and again when you need to reinstall, you need to format your system. Okay, so there are a couple of questions coming in again, so let us see. No, like this question, do we need to have knowledge about C and Java to learn this tool? No. Actually, some basics are required, but even if you don't know, that is not a problem. Okay. Then there is another question: how we can do performance testing for application where login authentication required? So that is supported. That is the SSL, secure socket level. So that we can handle with this particular tool. Okay. Now, as someone asked, like, is there only a C scripting language? No, there are other languages supported. Like you can see in the custom, C language, VB user, JavaScript. Okay, but like we are going to see HTTP HTML protocol that supports C scripting language. Okay, like suppose I select another protocol that is com. Suppose I click on create. I will show you like what scripting languages are supported by like com. Okay. Here, like see, all these languages are supported by com protocol. So it depends on protocol to protocol, like which language is supported. Okay. I just click on cancel right now. We will see HTTP HTML protocol, and we will see our first recording. Okay, so like we click on create to start the recording of a particular application. Okay, now a starting window will appear. Okay, so there are you can see some of the options. Application type, like they are internet application or Win32 application. So whether it's browser based application or Windows based application. Okay, so if it is a browser based application, we would select internet application, and if it is a window based application, we would select Win32 application. So like browser based and Windows based application are supported by Vue.js. So as we are right now seeing the browser based application, we will select internet application. Then next is a program to record. Okay, so here there are different options which you can select. Either you can select Internet Explorer, or you can select Firefox or Google Chrome. So depending which browser you want to record with. Okay. There is a question like Win32 refers to a 32-bit machine. No, like it is mainly for the window-based application, like desktop application. Suppose I want to record for a Skype, so I need to select, as it is a standalone and desktop application, I will select Win32 application. Okay, so that is mainly for desktop application. Okay. Then next is URL address. Okay, so URL address, we would just skip this particular address as we are going to see this first project for this particular application. Okay, now I will select www.hotels.com. I will just skip the URL. Working directory, where you want to store your script. Okay, so I will just save it in D drive. And record into action. There are different actions in Vusion: vuser init, action, and vuser end. So we will see in detail when we take up the scripting part. Right now we are just like recording, so you will get an idea. So we will see. I will click on OK. So it will launch the particular application as it is like a real user is accessing the application. Okay. So here you can see events are increasing. Okay. So this means your application is getting recorded with the tool. Okay. So now I select an action path. We will see what does that mean. I will select, yeah, what is vuser init? We will see. Like there is some problem with the internet, just a second. No? I will just stop it. And okay, today you will see like how the script is generated. So Loadrunner is a package and Vusion is a component of Loadrunner. Okay. So like we have recorded the application hotels.com, and this is how a script is generated. Okay. So this is the communication happening between the client and the server. So these are the requests that we are posting it to the server, and like in response it will show which page is displayed. Okay, so I will just show you replay of a particular application. Okay, so before we proceed to that, like vuser init, there are three actions you can say: vuser init, action, and vuser end. So vuser init is mainly for initializing of the application, like the action you are doing only once. Okay, so that is like loading of a home page or login part. Like suppose there is a requirement, okay, users are accessing loading the application and logging to the application. So they want only, they do login once and remain on the application, like do all the activities. Like in this particular case, they will search for the hotels or book for a room and all. Okay, so all these things they will do and then log out at the end. Okay. So we will, this is for the vuser init. Okay. The next is an action part. Action means whatever activity we are going to perform again and again. So like here we are doing the hotel search again and again. So different users, like I am one user, another you are the second user, then 3-4 users, like would be doing the search of the hotel. So each user have its own criteria for search. Okay, that is like Los Angeles I would search, some other user would search for the another location. So we are doing this activity again and again. So how do we do that for like different searches? We would see that, okay, when we take up the scripting part. So this is mainly like action is used for. We will see like how to create different actions when we proceed ahead. And we user N when we are closing the connection or we are logging off from the application. Okay, so this is the V user N. So like always we give login part in V user init and like logout part in V user N, or logout or sign off you can say. And whatever activity we are going to repeat again and again, like we keep it in the action part. So I will just show you. I will save the script and replay the script, so you will see like how it is giving the output. Okay. Hotel search underscore. Okay. Global is mainly like a header file you can say, like it includes all the APIs and the global variables like necessary for the scripting. Okay. So whatever like functions we have, it will include the web API and all that custom body, all those things. Okay. Now I will compile the script. And I will click on run. Okay, you can either press F5 or just run, or you can just select user run. So there are shortcuts also available. So I will just run it. So whatever a real user does, it will do the same thing, but like through a tool. Okay, so it will emulate a real user. Okay, so here you can see in runtime here. When you press that, like we had just like loaded the home page, okay, hotels.com, and we have just recorded that particular part. Okay, so like in the replay log, like it will communicate like whatever the GIFs and CS file are available, it will just download those particular things and like communicate with the server to get a response. Okay, so this is like how a script works. So like whenever a project comes to you for performance testing, so there are some list of like questions we need to like understand before we start scripting. So like we need to know what are the business critical scenarios. Now what does business critical scenario mean? So as an example, suppose we are taking hotels.com. Okay. So like business, my this application according to me, like hotels bills are like the main, you can say, critical functionality. Like if I provide the packages of hotels at a lower rate, then definitely more people would be interested. So this functionality is more critical to me. And package and the flight, again the same, like it is offering some packages and flight. So business critical scenario means how frequently your scenario is used. Okay, so you have to identify those scenarios. So You have to identify those scenarios. Okay. So again, like, yeah, there is another good question coming in, like how do we know like a page is hitting a server? So right now through Vugen, like you are getting a response, like in runtime here you are getting the response, like a page is displayed. So you can say that, okay, I am getting a proper response from the server. But when we test with like 100 or 1000 users, we need to give some transactions and like steps or different actions. So that we will see when we actually take up the scripting part. How do we do that and measure the performance of the application? Okay. Now in Vugen, first of all, it's a virtual user generator. Means we can test only with one user. Vugen is a component that will we can test the script with only one user. For running 5-10 users, we need to use a controller component, and that is the license part. Like in trial version, you can run around 10 users like for 30 days. But after that, you will be able to again like reinstall the software and format your system for like again recording it and working it. Okay. So then you need to like have these things, and controller is a licensing part. So whenever a project comes in, okay, so like it has to be decided between the company and the client, okay, who is bearing the cost for the licenses. So they, because the Loadrunner licenses are very costly, like around 500 or 1000 users would go into much like very much higher price in dollars. So like again that depends on the client, like how much to invest or how many users they want to perform. So all these things need to keep in mind. We will see like in the next session what are the set of questions we actually like go through before we start a performance testing project. Okay. Okay. See, when we add in performance test, we are checking the performance of the application. But in Vugen, we will not be able to know the performance of the application. There is a controller component when we design a scenario, like when we upload the script in the controller component, and when we run it, we will be able to measure the performance of the application at that particular time. Okay, with 10 or hundreds of concurrent users. So this is like first of the recording like we have done. This is how your script would look. What each like request means we will get into detail when we actually take up the scripting part. Okay, so we have before like getting into a project. So I have just given today you brief about what project, first project we will take up, how do we proceed with like a performance testing scenario. We will take up 2-3 scenarios like for the first project, script it and see how do we apply the concept of performance testing. But before proceeding, there are a list of questions that like you need to know, because whenever you get into a performance testing project, it's not just like that an application comes to you and you just start working on the application. You need to understand some aspect of the application. So that is called the requirement gathering phase. There are different phases in performance testing, like from requirement gathering phase to script creation, script execution, and the analysis part. So all these things we have to keep in mind. So like some like as a questions we need to ask, so that would be some theoretical, because we need to see like an application when coming, what we need to understand about the application and how we interact with the, like, ask the client for gathering the information about this application. So like just saying this application, okay, you will just see, okay, it's application for booking of hotel, but what next? How the requests are flowing, we need to know. For how many users we need to test for the application. Okay, so all these things we need to see in this particular scenario. So we need to go through those set of questions that we will be like taking up in the next session. So like we would understand each and every concept of like what is being done for the application, then how is the application behaving, what are the different scenarios we need to see. Okay, so all these things we would see. Today we just saw like a component, Fusion component, and we saw how do we record to a particular scenario. Okay, so as a test case, this is called a scenario in a performance testing terms, and for proceeding scripting, we should know much like in detail what steps are there for the scenario. Okay, so now we can like take up some questions which are unanswered still, and then tomorrow we can start with another session, like have a first understanding the types of questions we need to ask, and like how do we prepare a test plan and like a practical thing on it. Okay, so I will just answer some of the questions which are being unanswered. Okay, so some of the questions like, will this video be available to revise this training? Yeah, definitely. It would be available on the site, IT Learn site. Then, yeah, someone asked like how much time is sufficient to master in LR? Okay, that's a good question. Like once you go through this training, you will be perfectly like understanding the concept and how to do practically. Okay, so like you would, once you are done with this training, you are in a position to work on a project individually. Let me guarantee you. Okay, so you are working on Loadrunner and Jmeter. Okay. So some next few questions are, where should I go to download Loadrunner? Yeah, I would be providing you the link. You need to register at that particular site, HP site, and just download the trial version from that particular site. Okay. Next is, can you guide me how to load the application without recording and using? So in this particular training, we will see particularly through recording and like obviously optimizing the script. Okay, so like we will be only seeing the record and replay, but we will see basic coding, like how do we do some part of coding. Like if we want to confirm whether a page is being properly displayed or not, how do we go about that? So all these things we would be seeing. Okay. Now, major difference between Loadrunner and Jmeter. As I said earlier, like Loadrunner is a commercial tool and Jmeter is an open source. Loadrunner is more user friendly and flexible and like than Jmeter. But like both are this emerging tools in the market for performance testing. So these days, like can handle or the market, you can say most of the organizations are using both the tools for performance testing. Okay. Yeah, I will provide you the download URL properly in the next class. Okay. Can you introduce yourself once again? Yeah. Hi. Let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Archana Kappe. I will be tracking your performance testing training through Loadrunner and Jmeter. So we will be covering all the two tools that are like in the training session. Okay. Is there any coding part in Jmeter? Again, like there are some parts in Jmeter, like there are some processor in which coding is required. So we will see only basic level coding. Yeah, not in detail. See, as I said, like you need to understand some concept. So like I'm making you understand through the application itself. So before, like, suppose if you get into any project and suddenly what you will be doing. So you should know before getting into the project what all things needs to be done. Okay. So like some concepts you need to be clear of. Okay. Next is, what is the maximum number of reusers limit of Loadrunner in the trial period? We have 10 users. Okay. Another question is, there is similarity in QTP and LR tools? No. First of all, let me make it clear that QTP is an automation tool and Loadrunner is a performance testing tool. So in Loadrunner, we can test the users concurrently, which we cannot do in like QTP. We can test with 10 users or 20 users, but we cannot test more than that. Like in QTP, we like automate each and every test case that we don't do in Loadrunner. We do not take each and every test case that is available for manual testing. We, as I said, we take only the frequently and the critical business scenario. Okay, so that is needs to be done. So yeah. Can we go for certification for Loadrunner? Definitely. After this session, like I will be guiding you how do we do that. So you can definitely go for Loadrunner certification. Okay. Okay. How much depth I should know C+ to work on Roadrunner? Only few basic. Not much is required. Like suppose putting up some condition. Suppose I want to incorporate a for loop or if condition. So that is the basic thing you need to know. Otherwise, no knowledge of programming language is required for Roadrunner. Okay. Okay. There is another good question coming in. Performance testing can be performed only once before the release or for every release. I mean, is there any stability required or performance done on maintenance project? Yeah, definitely you require a stable application. Yeah, it can be for like various releases. Like suppose a release is coming and like version 1 and version 2, a new functionality is added to the application. So different releases coming for the application. So depending on the client requirement, whether they feel that the functionality is affecting the performance of the application, then definitely they would go for the performance test. Okay, otherwise they won't go for the performance test, but yeah, definitely but releases would like be under the performance test. Okay. No, sessions will be from like, I think not on Saturday. It would be from like Monday to Friday, the Pacific time. Okay, 6:30 a.m. Pacific. Okay, team. Like, yeah, one more question. Okay. Can Roadrunner be loaded on Win 7 professional? Okay. Yeah, Windows 7 it supports like Loadrunner will be able to be downloaded installed on Win 7 operating system. Okay. Okay, so that's it for team for today's session. Tomorrow we will see some basic questions like before going into the project, what we should understand and how do we process. Okay, so thanks team for your time. Okay, yeah, just another question coming in. When we search in hotels.com, sometimes if we don't get the output or error, actually, what happens? Yeah. For that, as I said, we need a stable application. Okay. So if errors are coming in the application, we should go to the client and tell them, okay, we want a stable application. Otherwise, our performance testing like won't happen, because every time if we get some issue in the application, it will be difficult for us to process the application. Okay, so always keep in mind we need a stable application. Yeah, entry and exit criteria we will see tomorrow. Like when we take up some basic of test plan. So the questionnaire and all this related to our hotel.com, we will see that how do we actually ask the client about it. Okay. What is correlation error? We will see when we pick up the correlation topic. Okay, what is actually mean? Yeah, there is like another question coming in. Like, can we know the throughput and standard deviation details of the application as like JMeter? Yeah, we can, but that we will be covering in the execution part, not the scripting part. Okay. Okay, great. Then tomorrow, let's make tomorrow for the session team, and we would be discussing like some of the questions left. Like we would take up as and when the topic is taken, so that all your doubts would be cleared about it. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, team. Okay. Have a nice day. Bye bye.